Hello and welcome to this new episode. We're gonna go into the first fish of the Age of Pisces. In the last episode we went into the doors of liberation and Buddhist realms, and also a little bit more into Windhorse again, and then we went into Rome and Uranus and Mars. And how both Uranus and Mars were also linked to the Corios, which we're gonna go into deeper in this episode too. But also like how Feronia and Uranus were eventually forgotten by the Romans, and there being this forgetting of these different aspects. Before we are gonna dive deeper into early Christianity, I wanna point out something important regarding the Age of Aries versus the Age of Pisces. There's this quote by Fion Mac, who is an authority on the Mithraic cult, that captures this Age of Aries sentiment very well when it comes to ancient nature worship. And it says, the gods were everywhere and they mingled in all the events of daily life. The fire that cooked the food and warmed the bodies of the faithful, the water that allayed their thirst and cleansed them, the very air they breathed, and the light that shone for them, all were objects of their adoration. Perhaps no other religion has ever offered to its votaries in so high a degree as Mithraism opportunities for prayer and motives for veneration. And when the initiate betook himself in the evening to the sacred grotto concealed in the solitude of the forest, at every step, new sensations awakened in his heart, some mystical emotion. And the stars that shone in the sky, the wind that whispered in the foliage, the spring or brook that hastened murmuring to the valley, even the earth which he trod under his feet, were in his eyes divine, and all surrounding nature evoked in him a worshipful fear of the infinite forces that swayed the universe. And sharply contrasting with this ancient nature worship is the Christian aversion from the world. And it's this shift between the Age of Aries going into the Age of Pisces. This quote by Carl Jung from his book Symbols of Transformation very much captures this massive shift. Because, first there was this more Aries-linked instinctual side. It was more integrated, but over time, when they started to forget about Uranus and the old Age of Gemini rituals that we also talked about, in the Age of Gemini video, there was this forgetting about this integration of the instinctual side, leading to a lot of problems later on. And this quote by Carl Jung says, through centuries of educational training, Christianity subdued the animal instincts of antiquity and of the ensuing ages of barbarism to the point where a large amount of instinctual energy could be set free for the building of civilization. And the effect of this training showed itself to begin with in a fundamental change of attitude, namely in the alienation from reality, the otherworldliness of the early Christian centuries. And it was an age that strove after inwardness and spiritual abstraction. Nature was abhorrent to man, but it was not only the aesthetic beauty of the world that distracted their senses and lured them away from concentrating on a spiritual and supramundane goal. There were also demonic or magical influences emanating from nature herself. To some degree, we can already see with that how this unintegrated shadow and instinct is very much linked to this projection of these shadows onto the cave. Like how we talked about that regarding Plato's cave in the Age of Aries episode. And since the very beginning, starting with Jesus, Christianity transmitted certain social values like charity, mutual support, self-control, and others. And this drew, people to Christianity. And it was not only the teaching of these values by the clerics which attracted people, but rather the way ordinary Christians gave practical and physical expression to Christian love. And at first, Christianity was primarily an urban religion. And early Christianity was marked by diversity of beliefs and practices, including the use of gospel accounts, letters, and oral traditions to transmit the teachings of Jesus. And early Christians also established communities, practiced baptism, and celebrated the Eucharist. There was also regular worship in house churches and use of sacraments such as baptism and the Eucharist as well. And they would use the Old Testament and oral tradition to support their beliefs, with the leadership being bishops and elders in local communities. The first centuries of the Age of Pisces were very much marked by Christology, Gnosticism, and Montanism. Christology, being the debates over the nature of Jesus Christ, including the relationship between his divinity and humanity. Gnosticism being a religious movement that emphasized mystical knowledge and rejection of the material world, and Montanism, a charismatic movement that placed emphasis on prophecy and ecstatic experiences. And early Christians were also interconnected and communicated via traveling teachers, healers that would be expelling demons, and letters which formed a communication network. And they very much used the Roman road network to their benefit when it would come to that. Moving from one city to another, and like that they would spread Christianity. But now when it comes to Gnosticism, there's different branches of Gnosticism and how it exactly would play out. But one important central figure in Gnostic Christianity would be Sophia. And this religious movement emerged in the 2nd century CE. And Gnosticism emphasized mystical knowledge and a rejection of the material world, even though it would depend on the exact branch of how this would look like. And in Gnostic belief, Sophia was a divine being often referred to as the wisdom of God. And according to Gnostic tradition, Sophia was one of the lower divine beings or aeons who, through her own longing for understanding, created the material world without the consent of the higher God. And this act of creation resulted in Sophia being separated from the divine realm and trapped in matter. And we can see some of the parallels here when it comes to what we talked about regarding the mystery schools as well. A figure like Sophia being linked from a Jungian lens regarding the anima, and this trapped in matter being this projection into the world of the inner figure that we talked about regarding the mystery schools, specifically the Orphic one. And in some Gnostic beliefs, Sophia is seen as a savior figure who helps bring knowledge and redemption to humanity, allowing them to escape the material world and return to the divine realm. And in other Gnostic beliefs, Sophia is seen as a fallen being who needs to be rescued and returned to her original place in the divine realm. And Gnostic Sophia is a complex and multifaceted figure, and her role and significance varied across different Gnostic traditions. Despite this, she is a central figure in Gnostic belief, and represents the idea of divine wisdom and the possibility of redemption and liberation from the material world. And if we take the Orphic mystery school here into account regarding what they talked about, we can reframe this more in the sense of liberation from the projection of the anima onto the world. And these different projections that happen, that we project outwardly, and to realize these projections inwardly, and and like how they talked about that in the Orphic mystery schools, to again realize this inner figure of the anima, instead of trying to project and to chase this figure outside of ourselves. And in that sense, it is very much true what they say, regarding the Gnostics. It's just not that. It's not really, like from the more Orphic lens. It's not really about the goal being like to go to some other realm, literally, but it's more about reestablishing the anima as a figure and the unconscious as a mediator between ego consciousness and self, instead of projecting her onto the world, leading to this disconnect.